Good evening. Today is the 2nd of June 2022. Welcome to Primetime News here on TV1 for the Newsfirst team, where the people come first. I'm Sanita Senanai. Before we take a look at the stories that we've got for you this evening, let's take a look at the headlines.
Did genuine protesters meet the president?
ගෙදර යන්න කියපු මිනිහට ආයෙ රට හදන්න යෝජනා දෙන්න තරම් අපි කාටවත් මන්දමානසික තත්ත්වයකුත් නැත.
අරගලකාරයෝ කියලා මෙතනින් ඇවිල්ලා ඔබතුමා හම්බෙන්න ආපු මිනිසුන්ගේ මූණු ටික එළියට දාන්න අපි අභියෝග කරනවා.
Mahinda Kahandagama arrested by the CID. Will the SLPP vote for the 21st Amendment, leading to Basil losing his parliamentary seat?
ජනතා පරමාධිපත්‍ය ක්‍රියාත්මක කරන්න ඕන කියන අදහස තමයි වැඩි මන්ත්‍රී ප්‍රමාණයක් හිටියේ.
Queues continue across the country. Protests at Igoroka Junction. Advanced level and grade 5 scholarship exams postponed.
On to those stories in detail. On Wednesday, the President's Media Division reported that a group of professionals and youth involved in the Aragola or the struggle met with the President for talks. However, representatives from the Gall protest site convening a media briefing stressed that those who are true to the struggle will never hold talks with the President.
All groups involved in the protest opposite the President's office at Gall attended a joint press conference and stressed that there is no solution to the crisis until the President steps down.
මම හිතන්නේ දේශපාලන නාඩගම් කියන ඒවා
What we saw was political drama, which is nothing new to this country. What happened at the President's house yesterday was something similar, and we don't accept it. The People's Struggle had two main campaign slogans. One was that President Gotabaya Rajapaksa must resign, and two, Mahinda Rajapaksa and the Rajapaksa regime must resign. The groups engaged in the struggle have not submitted any proposals except to call for the President to resign. Anyone can submit proposals. However, no one has the right to do so in the name of the People's Struggle.
අරගලේ නමින් ඒ වැඩේ කරන්න කිසිම කෙනෙක්ට අයිතියක් නැහැ.
මේ කාරණා
The 11-point proposal given yesterday does not speak of the resignation of Gotabaya Rajapaksa. This is Gotagogama, the village that wants Gotabaya gone.
ඒක ලැජ්ජ වෙන්න ඕනේ.
Those who submitted proposals and those who accepted must be ashamed of themselves. That group did not even communicate with those engaged in the protests.
කණ්ඩායමක්වත් නෙවෙයි.
ගෙදර යන්න කියපු මිනිහට ආයෙ රට හදන්න
We are not insane to submit proposals to the person we want gone to build the country. We saw how Mahinda Rajapaksa, who was left helpless, called for a meeting with the protesters. No one attended that meeting. He had to resign. We sent the same message to Gotabaya and Ranil. Keep this in mind. We are not insane to submit proposals to the person we want gone to build the country.
වට ගිහිල්ලා ආපහු රට හදන්න යෝජනා දෙන්න තරම් මෙතන ඉන්න කවුරුත් මන්දමානසික තත්ත්වයකින් නැහැ.
අරගලකාරයෝ කියලා මෙතනින් ඇවිල්ලා ඔබතුමා හම්බෙන්න
Expose those who met the president claiming that they were from the protest site. They are not showing their faces. From where did they come from? If they are trying to spread fake information, they must stop that. We have no discussions. You must leave.
අනිත් එක තමයි සාකච්ඡා නැහැ. ඔයගොල්ලෝ යන්න ඕන. Go home.
නන්දසේන ගෝඨාභයත් එක්ක කිසිදු සාකච්ඡාවක්
We have no discussion with Nandasena Gotabaya. What did he do for 3 years with Ajit Niwad Cabral and Basil Rajapaksa? All of a sudden he meets with so-called protesters. Does he have no shame?
ජනාධිපතිට ලැජ්ජ නැද්ද?
ඒ වගේම අපි ගෝඨාභය රාජපක්ෂට අභියෝග කරනවා.
We challenge Gotabaya Rajapaksa to visit Gotagogama as he did with the Gama Samaga Pilisandarak program. We have made our demands and the conspiracies cooked up inside palaces will be defeated. We stand by the Gotago Home slogan. Gotabaya Rajapaksa can visit Gotagogama and we are prepared to submit our proposals.
සටන් පාටිත් එක්ක අපි ඉන්නවා මේ ගෝඨාගෝ ගමට ගෝඨාභය රාජපක්ෂ එන්න ගම සමග පිළිසඳරක් අපි ලෑස්ති අපේ යෝජනා සියල්ල කියන්න.
Protests at Gotagogama opposite the President's office in Colombo entered its 55th day today. The protesters are demanding the resignation of President Gotabaya Rajapaksa. The people continue to protest, demanding those in power to take accountability and step down. But politicians are now discussing the 21st Amendment to the Constitution.
The 21st.
The subject of the 21st Amendment is being discussed widely among political circles. The amendment proposes to limit the powers of the executive president, re-establish commissions and bar foreign or dual citizens from contesting in elections. Political parties and the Bar Association of Sri Lanka have outlined their views on the draft amendment. 75 opposition parliamentarians met Justice Minister Dr. Vijayadasa Rajapaksa in Parliament. They discussed the proposed 21st Amendment to the Constitution. The Samagi Janabalavegya did not attend the meeting.
ඔබතුමාගේ මතය මොකද්ද මේ 21 ගේන එක සම්බන්ධයෙන්?
මේ අරුණුදිය නම් මේ 21 ගෙනාව එක නතර වෙන්නේ නැහැ. නමුත් රට ප්‍රජාතන්ත්‍රීකරණය කිරීමත් මේ හා සමානව කළ යුතුයි. ඔබතුමා ශ්‍රී ලංකන් ප්‍රස්පක්ෂයෙන් සහයෝගය ලැබෙනවා. අපි 100% අපි සහයෝගය දෙනවා.
ඒතකොට බැසිල් මහත්තයත් එක්ක කාද වෙලා ඉන්න අයත් മന്ത്രിවලත් හිටියනේ මේකේ.
මේ පුද්ගලයෙකුට මේ කාරණය ලඝු කරන්න ඕන නැහැනේ. දැන් ගීත කුමාරසිංහ මහත්මියත් එහෙනම් හිටියේ දිත්තපුර බැසිබාය නිසා മന്ത്രി ධූරයත් අවශ්‍ය කරගත්තේ.
ඒ මොනොත් මේ බැසිල් මන්ත්‍රීතුමාට එළියට යන්න වෙනවනේ.
නෑ ඒක පිළිබඳව කතා කරගන්න පුළුවන් නේද? අදහස් අද ඉදිරිපත් වෙන්නේ. අපිට මේ පුද්ගලයෙක් ඉලක්ක කරලා කරන කාර්යයක් නෙමෙයි කියන එක.
ආවද සාකච්ඡාවට?
නෑ නෑ ආවේ නෑ.
එන්න බෑනේ.
මොන දේ තිබුණත් අවසානයේ බැසිල් මහත්තයාගේ දිත්තපුර බැසිබාවේ ප්‍රශ්නය ආවොත් ඔබතුමාලා ඔය 21කට සහාය දෙන්නේ නෑ නේද?
එහෙම ගැටලුවක් නෑ. മന്ത്രിවරු කවුරුවත් එහෙම එක කාරණාවක් මත යැපෙන්න හෝ එක කාරණාවක් මත කටයුතු කරන්නේ නෑ. හැමෝම ඊටාම ඉච්ඡාසනශීලීව මේ සම්බන්ධව හොයලා බලලා නිවැරදි දේ කරයි කියලා විශ්වාස කරනවා.
The entire country is speaking about the constitutional amendment that the government hasn't finalized. No one has even seen the amendment. If the government wants to pass this urgently, they can use the draft of the Samagi Janabalavegya. That is the actual 21st amendment that has been gazetted. The people's demands have been included in our draft of the 21st amendment. The government is lying when they say they will abolish the executive presidency. They say they will consider it later, but that won't happen. If the government wants, they can conduct the election and a referendum in a day. The government has failed miserably. There is no point in patchwork. Decisions like this allow poaching of parliamentarians. They dish out 40 state ministerial positions. What is this?
The Criminal Investigations Department arrested Municipal Councillor Mahinda Kahandagama today. The arrest was made in connection to the attacks on peaceful protesters on the 9th of May.
I don't have to hide. I didn't go to attack them. I had left temple trees at about 12 or 1 in the afternoon and gone to the municipal council. I left the municipal council at about 2:30. I was attacked at 2:30. I wasn't there when the attacks on Gota Gogama and Minor Gogama occurred. I will hand over my evidence to the CID. This was captured in a CCTV camera at the municipal council. I was not in hiding. I was attacked. I was attacked with a helmet. I took medication for that.
The Criminal Investigations Department arrested Mahinda Kahandagama after he was produced in court. The Human Rights Commission of Sri Lanka has taken up a complaint filed by the Young Journalist Association over the attacks on peaceful protests.
About 20 people have given eyewitness statements. They have described the conduct of the police. We submitted video footage. We showed that the police had not taken steps to ensure public order or to prevent the attacks from occurring. We expect that the Human Rights Commission will issue the relevant directives on the conduct of the police.
Members of the Inter-University Students Federation attended a meeting at the University Grants Commission today.
The Cinnamon Garden Police informed the Chief Magistrate's Court that university students were planning to march from the Viharamadevi Park to the University Grants Commission. This was before representatives from the Inter-University Students Federation attended a meeting at the University Grants Commission. The Colombo Chief Magistrate's Court rejected a request by police to prevent the protest march. Members of the University Students' Union spoke to the media after the meeting.
Universities have been closed indefinitely. We came here to discuss that with the chair of the University Grant Commission, but he wasn't in the office as he has to go overseas tomorrow. The government is planning to close universities. The government is afraid. The best way to suppress the protest is to close universities. The government does not care at all about the lives of the students. While people continue to wait in queues for many hours to buy fuel and other essentials, the government has has completely disregarded the education sector. Why isn't the urgency displayed when obtaining court orders shown to stop these fuel queues or to reopen universities?
Farmers of Ambalanguda are complaining that cattle from Hambantota have been released to their fields.
Farmers of Kurunagala lost more than 20,000 acres of farmlands in 2012 after a gazette was published to declare them as a reserve. Although farmers were allowed to cultivate in 2013, they were not allowed to enter their fields last year. But since recently, cattle reared by people of Tissa Maharama in Hambantota have been released into their fields. The government has been urging farmers to continue their cultivations. However, does the decision to release cattle into farmlands show negligence over a possible food shortage? A forest officer who visited the area had to face the anger of the people in Ambalanguda today.
A protest was held at Armour Street demanding cooking gas today.
Residents of the Hirimutuyan housing complex held a protest as they haven't received gas cylinders for more than 3 months. The main road from the Igoroka Junction to Armour Street was blocked due to the protest. The protesters dispersed after Grand Pass police officers promised that gas cylinders will be sold tomorrow.
Now at the same time, a protest also took place in Slave Island, Colombo. There are queues for gas in many parts of the country. One man has died after returning home following a protest demanding gas in Muttur.
A 42-year-old man from Muttur had died after returning home following a protest demanding gas. He was a father of 3. A tense situation arose last night in a queue for gas cylinders near the Open University in Navala. People accused the gas dealership store of hoarding stocks. Despite heavy rains, people in Hikkaduwa continue to wait in line to buy gas cylinders, but many had to return home empty-handed. A gas dealership store in Kurunagala received fresh stocks after 2 weeks. Only 180 cylinders were sold at the location, leading to a tense situation. About 1,000 people were in queue at a gas dealership store in Ambalanguda. Tensions flared after only 450 cylinders were sold. Similar tensions were reported from the Butler town this evening due to a shortage of cooking gas. A protest was held near the Gunasinghapur housing scheme against politicians getting involved in the gas distribution process. While gas queues are still continuing, fuel queues can also be seen across the country. Farmers of Hingarak have been in queue for days to buy diesel. Fuel stations in Kandy and Butler did not receive diesel stocks today.
Now traders say the cost of smartphones will go up as the government has increased taxes.
Businessmen say cost of smartphones will be over 80,000 rupees as the government has increased taxes. The Finance Ministry yesterday imposed a surcharge tax on many imported goods. Value-added taxes have also been increased by 4% as the government tries to increase its revenue. The increase in taxes is likely to cause an increase in the prices of goods.
කලින් නම් ෆෝන් තිබ්බේ සාමාන්‍ය පාරට 20ට වගේ හොඳ ස්මාර්ට්ෆෝන් එකක් ගන්න පුළුවන්. දැන් සාමාන්‍ය 55 60ට වගේ තමයි ඉතින් අඩුම මිලේ ෆෝන් තියෙන්නේ. තව ඉස්සරහට ඉතින් ෆෝන් එකක් මං හිතන විදිහට 80ක් 90 ලක්ෂයක ඉටු වෙන්න යනවා ෆෝන් එක.
The government has also increased the telecommunication levy from 11.25 to 15%.
Now, Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe says he expects talks with the International Monetary Fund to conclude this month.
The Prime Minister, during a meeting today with representatives from joint chambers, explained that the government was targeting $5 billion this year for repayments and a further $1 billion to bolster the country's reserves. The Prime Minister also explained to the representatives that debt restructuring has begun following the appointment of financial and legal advisors. He said any bridging finance to help alleviate the crisis is dependent on an agreement with the IMF being reached.
Former Central Bank Governor Dr. Indrajit Kumaraswamy says Sri Lanka may receive bridge financing of about $6 billion from India. He said Sri Lanka should have approached the International Monetary Fund for help in December 2020.
The time to have approached, in my view, was probably December 2020. And at that time, if we went to the IMF, debt restructuring would not have been a precondition. We need to find some ways of mobilizing bridge financing. The Indians have given us a great deal of bridge financing. I think they've agreed to provide about 4.5 billion in different ways, and another 1.5 billion may well be forthcoming. So that could be about 6 billion in all from India. Interestingly, there is some indication that the Japanese government may also now be more forthcoming in terms of providing bridge financing.
Meanwhile, opposition leader Sajit Premadasa says the people expect solutions. He made these remarks during a meeting with importers today.
What do the people of the country expect today? They want solutions. But what happened during the last 2.5 years was the implementation of policies that will take this country to the brink of destruction. The testimonies of various officials during COPE committee sittings and the testimonies of the monetary board members have shown this. The government was privatized during the last 2.5 years. It was under a family which was planning how to hand over the country to their children. The whole society is destroyed. All 22 million people have been affected because of the stupid decisions that were made to enjoy temporary relief.
Former mayor's scuffle in the Southern Expressway.
We'll take a look at the weather situation across the island as well right after this short commercial break.
පුරා ගලන මේ සතුට සුරක්ෂිත කරන්නේ Eslon Insight. Eslon ජීවයයි ජලයේ ජීවිතේ.
Introducing EVA Heavy Flow Wings with an extended length of 280 millimeters to provide extra protection on days you need it most. And for the first time in Sri Lanka, an antibacterial layer to minimize microbial growth. EVA, leading with confidence.
Welcome back to the news. 4 children have died after drowning in Horana and Vaunia.
2 children had drowned in the Kakkaduwa Ala in Horana today. Our correspondent reported that 1 child had been washed away due to strong currents. 2 children who tried to save him had died. The child who was swept away had managed to escape by clinging onto a tree. 2 teenagers have died after drowning in the Iraperiyakulam River in Vaunia. They had been bathing with 2 others who managed to save their lives. The deceased are a 15 and a 16-year-old from Tekawata in Vaunia.
Meanwhile, the Disaster Management Center says more than 5,300 people have been affected due to flooding. About 174 houses have been damaged in the recent weather.
People in 7 districts were affected by extreme weather conditions in the last few days. The districts include Colombo, Matara, Kalutara, Gampaha, Kandy, Gall and Ratnapura. Some roads remained flooded due to heavy rains today. The Bulat Sinhala Molkava road has been flooded for 3 days. Some houses were flooded as well. The roads connecting Babdegama to Agalia and Udugama were also flooded. Roads from Mapalagama to Alpitia, Gall, Udugala and Panangala were submerged in floods. The Met Department said some areas in the western and Sabaragamo provinces and the Kandy and Norelia districts will receive rains of more than 100 millimeters.
We expect rains of about 60 to 75 millimeters in the Norelia district. We expect wind speeds across the country to increase. We wish to advise the fishermen and the naval community that there can be showers or thunder showers in the seas from Kankasanture to Pothuwil.
Speaker Mahinda Abewardena chaired a meeting with the leaders of political parties in Parliament today.
Party leaders had discussed next Tuesday's parliamentary sitting during their meeting chaired by Speaker Mahinda Abewardena today. In his capacity as Finance Minister, Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe is to table a supplementary estimate of 695 billion rupees to run essential services. A 3-day debate will take place in Parliament after the Prime Minister delivers a special statement on the economic situation.
බදාදා රටේ තියෙන වර්තමාන තත්ත්වයේ සම්බන්ධව විවාදයක් පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ තියෙනවා.
දැන් හැමදාම විවාද කරන විවාද විතරයි ප්‍රකාශ විතරයි උත්තර නැහැ.
උත්තර දෙන්න ඕන ආණ්ඩුවේ විපක්ෂයේ බලයක් නැහැ. ඉතින් අහන්නේ දැන් අගමැතිවරයෙක් පත් කරලා ඉන්නවා. පොහොට්ටුවේම පිරිසක් කැබිනට් මණ්ඩලයේ විදිහට පත් කරලා ඉන්නවා. ඉතින් අපි අහනවා මොකද්ද මේකට දෙන විසඳුම කියන එක.
ආවොත් ආයි බාර ගන්නවද?
එතුමා කියන්නේ නැත්තේ එන්න නෙවෙයිනේ. සැලුන් දොරක් නෙමෙයි අපි තියෙන්නේ.
රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ මහත්තයා වැඩේ ගොඩ දාවිද?
එතුමා දැන් වෙනකන් අරන් තියෙන තීරණ දිහා බැලුවාම විශේෂයෙන්ම එතුමා දැන් පොහොට්ටුවේ മന്ത്രിවරුන්ගේ ප්‍රාණ අපකරුවෙක් හැටියට පත් වෙලා ඉන්නේ. ප්‍රාණ අපකරුවෙක් හැටියට රට කොහොම මේ අගාධයෙන් මුදවාගෙනද කියලා අපිට නම් අනාවකයක් පළ කරන්න අමාරුයි.
බැසිල් මහත්තයා මේ යට ඉඳන් මෙහෙ යනවා කියලා දෝ කියන්නේ ඔබතුමා.
ඒකේ ජාතික සංවිධායක හැටියට එතුමා Tamanගේ ඇමරිකානු ප්‍රවේශභාවය ආරක්ෂා කරගන්න විශාල වෑයමක් ඇතුලේ කරනවා කියලා අපිට පෙනී යනවා. ඉතින් ඒ වගේ තනි ආත්මార్థකාමී න්‍යාය පත්‍රයන්ට කටයුතු කරන රාජපක්ෂ පවුලත් එක්ක එතුමා දැන් මේ දීගේ කොච්චර දවසකට ගෙනියන්න පුළුවන් කියන එක ඉතින් බලන් හිටිනවා.
ඔබතුමාලා දැන් සර්වපාක්ෂික ආණ්ඩුවක් හැදුවනේ.
අපි හිතුවේ සර්වපාක්ෂික ආණ්ඩුවක් හදන්න කියලා අපි කියන්නේ. ඒක සර්වපාක්ෂික ආණ්ඩුවක් නෙමෙයි. මේ ආණ්ඩුව අපිට නම් පේන්නේ නැහැ ඒ තරම් දුර යන්න පුළුවන් ආණ්ඩුවක් කියලා. මේ ආණ්ඩුවට මේ තියෙන ප්‍රශ්න විසඳීමට ඉදිරිපත් කළ හැකි යෝජනා තාම අපි දැක්කේ නැහැ.
The graduation ceremony of the Capital Maharaja Group's Maharaja Institute of Management was held at the Stein Studios today.
The Colombo University's Vice-Chancellor Professor H.D. Karunaratne was the chief guest at today's graduation ceremony of the Maharaja Institute of Management. The event was held at Stein Studios in Ratmalana. Chairman of the Capital Maharaja Group, Sashi Rajamahendran, and members of the senior management were present.
අද තවත් සුබ දවසක් ඒ මාධ්‍ය ශාස්ත්‍රයට දැවැන්තීන් පිරිසක් එකතු කරන්නට සූදානම් වෙන දවසක්.
Various programs added color to the event. Group addressed the gathering.
You, the youth, have shown that you look for a brighter and better future. You, the youth, have shown that you will not be divided by race and class. You, the youth, have shown that you're far more knowledgeable than we give you credit for. And you, the youth, have shown that you will not be pushed around. Mediocre is no longer an option. And every time you come to a roadblock, you do not give in. Don't think for a moment that this is solely a graduation ceremony. That's not how we see it. To us, today is a springboard for our nation's future leaders. When you leave, you will be leaving to find jobs, but the entire nation will be doomed if you are not the generation to create jobs.
The chief guest of today's event, Professor H.D. Karunaratne, also spoke to the audience.
maybe in coming years there will be a gap in skill development. So in that line, I should congratulate MIM and Capital Maharaja Group starting this kind of activities and providing skills for Sri Lankan youth. How many entrepreneurs in Sri Lanka? That is the main question we have to worry about. We have to increase this number of business owners from 2.8% to at least 20%, 30% if we are going to call this as a developed country.
Today's graduation ceremony was held for 249 students of the 2019-2020 and the 2020-2021 batches who completed their diplomas in 3 fields of electronic media. They had successfully completed the certificate course in television and radio program presenting, diploma in electronic media and the certificate course in sales and marketing. Ashanjali Eshani De Silva won the gold medal for 2020 upon successfully completing the diploma in electronic media.
De Silva from the certificate course in television and radio program presenting single medium batch 2. Video program presenting.
Kaveen Kalhara Ranatunga won the gold medal for 2021.
Kaveen Kalhara Ranatunga. අපි නැවතත් හමුවෙමු. ඒ හමුවන්නේ මා කියූ පරිදි තවත් බොහෝ පිරිසක් මාධ්‍ය ශාස්ත්‍රයට දායාද කරමු.
Today, the Maharaja Institute of Management produced nearly 300 young leaders to Sri Lanka. Cycle tour to raise funds for Sri Lanka.
In more local news, the Education Ministry has decided to postpone the GCE advanced level examinations that were to take place in August.
We are making arrangements to conduct the GCE advanced level examination by October or November this year. We will also make arrangements to hold the scholarship exam this year. There is a high chance that schools will run until the 22nd or 23rd of December this year. This will allow schools to complete the syllabus.
Police say they are investigating a scuffle that broke out between the former Gall mayor and the police in Badigama yesterday.
A brawl had erupted between former Gall mayor Ravinda Wedarachi and the police yesterday. This was at the Badigama entry point to the Southern Expressway when they had tried to transport a fridge. The wife of the former mayor was also present. Former Gall mayor Ravinda Wedarachi accused police of threatening him first. He said the video circulated on social media does not contain that portion of the incident. This is the video showing how police had threatened him. The sergeant who was on duty had filed a complaint with the Virukete police. Police spokesperson Nihal Taldua said an investigation will be conducted. In a statement, police said the couple has fled their house and are in hiding. Police have sought public help to arrest the suspects, as harboring them is a crime. They have also announced a hotline to provide the police with information on the whereabouts of the suspects.
News First with the people.
China's first batch of medical aid will arrive in Sri Lanka tomorrow. We'll bring you the details right after this short commercial break.
නිවෙස පුරා ගලන මේ සතුට සුරක්ෂිත කරන්නේ එස්ලෝන් ඉන්සයිට්. එස්ලෝන් ජීවයයි ජලය ජීවිතේ.
For the first time in Sri Lanka, EVA unveiled an antibacterial layer to minimize microbial growth and control odour, helping you stay fresher throughout the day. EVA, leading with confidence.
Welcome back to the news. Ceylon Workers Congress leader Sendil Thondaman says the distribution of aid received from India will be carried out without any interruption.
The Sri Lanka Gramanildari Officers Association yesterday said it won't distribute an Indian aid package, citing political interference by Ceylon Workers Congress leader Sendil Thondaman. The Gramanildari Officers Association must understand that we were the ones who worked hard for this. We will have to work according to our conscience. If we work by considering the regulations, then only 200 families will receive aid if there are 2,000 families. The Ceylon Workers Congress doesn't like that. We know who the low-income earners are. Therefore, if they threaten to withdraw from the distribution, we will do it. This aid is not being distributed using some of the funds. It is a donation. Therefore, if there are 100 families, it must be given to everyone. Everyone is facing issues. If you can't distribute it to everyone in the estate sector, then there is no problem. We thank them for the support that they have given so far. I shall distribute this through another entity. In a statement, the Sri Lanka Gramanildari Officers Association said it has not withdrawn from distributing the aid.
Now, meanwhile, China's first batch of medical aid will arrive in Sri Lanka tomorrow.
China is to provide medical aid worth 500 million Chinese yuan, that is about 26.9 billion rupees, to Sri Lanka. The aid will include 512,640 syringes worth 10 million yuan of a drug useful in preventing blood clots. More than half of the syringes will reach Colombo tomorrow and the remainder in the second half of this month. The Chinese embassy in Colombo said the injections will be enough for 6 months.
A Sri Lankan engineer is cycling from London to Paris to raise funds for Sri Lanka's healthcare system. Mariam Gunuvijaya reports.
Cheers, Paul. Cheers, Joe.
Cheers! An awareness tour on Sri Lanka's medical crisis. Mithila Manasinghe is cycling from London to Paris to raise awareness on the medical crisis in his country.
The situation is so bad that in the very near future, it will be either my father or your mother in a hospital bed pleading for life in front of doctors who will be crying out their hearts, knowing that they could have saved this person's life who is dying right now had they have the medicine at their disposal. I'm doing my best for my people. Sri Lanka is where I am from. Sri Lanka is where my parents are, is where my heart is.
Sri Lanka is facing a medicine shortage due to a foreign exchange crisis to pay for imports. Mithila will reach England's port city of Portsmouth and board a ferry to France, where he would cycle to Paris. The 31-year-old engineer has been cycling about 100 kilometers on weekends in London from the 15th of last month. He aims to collect £10,000 to help the healthcare system through a project called Heal Sri Lanka, run by 8 doctors. According to Heal Sri Lanka's official Facebook page, donations are made in the form of medicine packages and not in money.
The Colombo Arbitration Week was held online for the second day today.
The Colombo Arbitration Week is Sri Lanka's first ever initiative to bring together local and international stakeholders involved in alternative dispute resolution.
Most of the time, the people who sit as DAB members are technically qualified people. When the DAB looks into it, DAB has already done that technical evaluation. So if that information can be then processed, that could save a lot of time and, save a lot of money for the parties. And that would be the way forward. If you are trying to, have a major deviation from this practice and use arbitral tribunals as a more like appellate body, then I think some amendments will have to be introduced to these standard forms so that then the parties will get used to the practice of doing that.
The arbitration week will run until Sunday.
A new phase of the Divisavya program to distribute dry rations among families in need was held in the Gall district today. The program is sponsored by LOLC Holdings.
The Divisavia program, sponsored by LOLC Holdings, entered its 23rd day today. Two teams distributed dry rations among many Gramanildaru divisions in the Gall district. The Divisavia program aims at supporting low-income families amidst the economic crisis.
And that brings us to an end of this edition of Primetime News here on TV1. For more details on these stories and much more, you can log on to our website, that is www.newsfirst.lk. For the Newsfirst team, where the people come first, I've been Sanita Senanayak. Take care and stay safe.